The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcasting Management, or its sponsors.
With so many people living longer, the fear of outliving your money becomes a reality for many of us. Will I be a financial burden? Will I outlive my money? How will I be remembered? My name is Neil Himmelstein, president of Main Street Planning Group. Please contact me by visiting mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. I will introduce you to strategies that will guarantee you will not outlive your money, that can guarantee you will not be a burden on your loved ones. Through a collaborative approach, we will uncover solutions that offer tax-efficient strategies, lifetime income, and legacy planning, choice, organization, direction, and education. That is the code we stand behind. Contact mainstreetplanninggroup.com. That's mainstreetplanninggroup.com, or call 631-647-4694. And listen to me every Friday at 3 p.m. as I host the Main Street Code for Financial Success, right here on 103.9 LI News Radio. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. If you want to reach out to me, 631-647-4694. I'm here every Friday at 3 o'clock, and if you happen to miss an episode, you can catch me on Apple or Spotify at the Main Street Code, or you can always check out my website, themainstreetcode.com. We help hundreds of advisors across the United States, whether it be attorneys, CPAs, and insurance advisors who have questions regarding their insurance or complex insurance issues regarding life insurance, disability, long-term care, or fixed annuities. We are wholesalers and completely independent of working for a career company. We represent 30 different insurance companies. We're completely non-biased as to what we do. We don't charge for any advice. We get compensated if we position any products that you purchase. So there's no charge for a call, and we appreciate the calls. When we talk about our code, we talk about choice, organization, direction, and education. That's what our code's all about. And today we are very fortunate to have with us Mitchell Goldberg. Say hello, Mitchell.
Hello, Neil. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm sure we share a lot of the same listeners from Money in the Morning with Mitch Goldberg and with your show. So thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. For those of you who don't know, Mitch has a show every morning at 9 o'clock, and he talks about the market, and he talks about long-term planning issues, and he's a great financial planner and a wonderful partner. And his expertise in investments and my expertise in long-term planning with insurance products go hand in hand. You need to work with groups of people that are going to help you attain your goals. And as I always say, if you need financial advice, legal advice, accounting advice, it's always nice to have a team so that all the people on your team work together. And if you don't have a team, we are happy to help you get one. I love the team approach, the collaboration, because no one has an answer to everything. And I also believe that when you have different people with different experiences, they bring that experience to the relationship. I have over 30 years experience as a financial advisor. You have more years of experience in what you do than I do.
Right.
So we have so many experiences. We've helped so many people get through financial challenges.
Absolutely.
And I think another big thing that you and I both do is we act as accountability coaches, because sometimes we have to call and hawk people a little bit because we know it's in their best interest. And they thank us for it. But sometimes people, yes, when they're motivated to meet with us, but then some time passes by and they kind of lose that oomph, that momentum. We have to get them back on track to finish their financials, to get things in order.
So initially, people are hesitant to meet with people. I find, listen, nobody answers the phone anymore. And understandably, there's a lot of things. So people don't answer phone. People don't read the mail as much as they used to. And sometimes we have to be a little proactive in reaching people. But Mitch, the radio station does a great job of providing a lot of really good financial advisors. There's some great attorneys on there, some, estate planning attorneys, regular attorneys, and there's quite a few financial advisors. What is the difference maker of Mitch Goldberg?
I think, for me, it's not that I'm trying to, and I have to say I'm only going to speak for myself, but I am familiar with the other financial advisors on the station, and I have a great deal of respect for them, and I know them, and they strive to do a great job for their clients just like me. So I think if you work with any of us, you're going to get a really good financial advisor. So let me start with that. For me, what I'll tell you, what I tell my clients, prospective clients, is I'm not here to try to sell somebody something. Like here's what you're going to get. Here's what you need. First, I have to assess the client. I look at stocks, bonds, exchange traded funds, mutual funds, index funds, insurance products. Whether you can't invest directly into an index, but you could invest in a security that tracks your membership index. Just have to get that out of the way. But I look at all of these simply as tools. So what I do is I do a discovery process with a client or a prospect, and we figure out, like, what kind of house do you want? When do you want to retire? We have to work backwards to achieve the goal, and then work forward again to test it out the best we can. And then I use those tools to build you the portfolio, the plan that you need to get you to where you want. It's your version of your retirement is where we want to get to. So I just take all the information in, and then with my experience, I pick from amongst the tools. It's not just always going to be stocks. It's not going to always be mutual funds. It's not always going to be an insurance product. It's basically, you tell me the house you want, and I'll be your general contractor, and I'll pick out the tools and materials and the timeline to build it.
That's fantastic. And I know you do that extremely well. And we try and do the same thing. And it's important to have good advice and people you can bounce things off of. And I find a lot of people today, because they're not trusting, or they're do-it-yourselfers and they're Googling and they don't even know the mistakes they're making because they just go on their life that way until something happens. And, something always happens. Nobody's in a straight line. The market
nothing's in a straight line.
Nothing goes from 0 to 100. It just doesn't go that way. There's always bumps in the road, and everybody has different things going on in their life. And, I was talking to Mitch before the show, and, he's, one of the things that you may not know about Mitch is, he's taking care of his mom and he's taking care of kids. And there's a lot of people that are caught in this in between kind of phase where you are the chief caregiver. And tell me a little bit about that.
I think that what we call ourselves, and every generation goes through it, is we're, right now I'm the sandwich generation.
Right.
My mother is 81. She's terrific. She's wonderful and bubbly, but she's having some cognitive issues. She has something called frontal temporal dementia, which can only be diagnosed with an MRI. And it's the same affliction that Bruce Willis has. Except some people go through their journey of FTD slowly, like my mother, and some people seem to go through it faster, like Bruce Willis, for example. So I'm helping her manage her affairs. I got her an aide, things like that. And I have kids at home. For me, my situation is a little different. Unfortunately, my wife and my mother were best of friends. Talked every day, several times a day. I'm one of those very lucky people where my wife and my mother were just so close. And my wife would have been great at helping my mother and taking care of all these things for me. She just has that special thing. She was a social worker.
Wow.
Unfortunately, my wife passed away this month, is a year and a half ago. So I lost that support system. I lost my best friend, and I still have 2 kids in high school. So it's been a lot to juggle.
And you're running a business, so you got your time is divided, and that's tough. It's very difficult to do. I applaud you. You're a great juggler.
Thank you. There are some days I am struggling, and there are some days I'm kicking butt. And I find that as time goes on, things are getting better, easier, and
good. No, it's a lot to deal with.
It's a lot to deal with.
People don't realize, there are a lot of people, and I just want to throw out a statistic for you, which I happen to know, and numbers are numbers, but this is real. So as you know, I do a lot with long-term care insurance, whether it be standalone policy or life policies with long-term care. We've talked about that many times. 51% of all long-term care claims, 51% or due to cognitive issues. Now, think about this. When they started long-term care insurance, they only expected to cover you for 2 or 3 years. That was it. If you have dementia or Alzheimer's or a cognitive impairment, Alzheimer's itself typically goes for 14 years. Now, 14 years, a long time, especially if it progresses to the point where you're at now, where you can't handle taking care of your mom, running your business, taking care of your kids, that you're now getting a caregiver.
Yeah, we hired an aide.
Okay. And that aide is expensive, and well, maybe not that expensive. It's all expensive is a relative thing, but as Alzheimer's and mental issues progress, you need somebody sometimes 24/7.
Luckily, my mother lives about 4 minutes away from me.
Okay.
So I see her very frequently, and most of the time she's in good shape. People don't realize that, on a scale of percentages, all you have to do is lose 4 or 5% of your cognitive abilities and you are handicapped. You need help. It doesn't take a lot. You don't have to lose a lot of your cognitive abilities until you realize your parent needs help.
Right. And a lot of times you don't even realize it right away. If it's a close person to you, you just realize their issues. I want to talk a little more about that. You're listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. Again, you want to reach out to me, 631-647-4694. And Mitch, how can they get a hold of you?
You can find me at ClientFirstStrategy.com. That's our website. I also have a show, as you know, Money in the Morning with Mitch Goldberg. So you can check us out also at moneyinthemorning.info. Another 10-minute segment coming up. So I'm excited. We're going to cover a lot.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. I'm your host, Neil Himmelstein. I'm here every Friday at 3. I'm here with Mitchell Goldberg, who has a morning show at 9. And before the break, we were talking about being a caregiver and how critical it is. And, if you're a close family member and you're currently taking care of somebody, you may be sacrificing time spending with your kids. You may be spending time from your work. And, there's another survey out, and, I hate to keep bringing up numbers, but I would say the large majority of caregivers end up spending their own money, which is difficult because you're either working less or spending money on small things and this and that to take care of their loved one, and devoting less time to the next generation who may need their help with homework or this and that. And so it becomes costly for multi-generations. And the older person, typically the older person, it could be a younger person, who needs the care, is upset because they don't have their independence. Maybe they can't, the biggest thing that happened in my life, my parents are both passed, was taking that car away from my mother, taking those cars, telling my mom, you can't drive anymore.
I took my mother's keys away, and it was, and she was asking a doctor, tell my son I can drive. She was asking if I can drive, and it was just like, and she clearly could not drive.
It takes away your independence, and that is a big blow to your parent. And it also changes the family dynamic in a whole nother way. You grew up as the child, and now you are the parent to your mother,
and I'm the parent to my kids.
And psychologically, that's a huge thing on you. That's a huge thing on your mom. And I remember another story, but I could talk about these for days. My father was a very macho guy, and my mom actually passed away before him because she was the caregiver of him, who had lost his mobility because of disintegrated disc in his neck and back. And my father's brilliant veterinarian, great guy. But after she passed, he was, wanted to take care of himself, but I had to change his diaper. And let me tell you something. My dad was my God. I mean, he was like super powerful athlete, veterinarian, successful. And for him to look in my eyes while I was changing his diaper for him and for me was I'll never forget that experience. It was just such a horrible experience for both of us and just a whole relatability thing. And it was just like, but this is what it comes to. So unless you have a plan, and see, the problem with most people is, and it could be a legal plan, it could be a financial plan, or it could be an insurance plan, or it could be all of the above. But you can't wait until you need care. It's like having a house and the house is on fire.
And now you're going to go shop for
and you want fire insurance, right? And this is the amazing thing is, if you knew your house had a 70% chance of going on fire, wouldn't you want to insure it? A 70%
yes,
chance.
It would become the cheapest thing you could buy because you're protecting your biggest asset.
So over 70% of us will need some sort of long-term care in our lifetime. That's doesn't covered by health insurance, isn't covered any other way. That means 2 out of 6 ADLs, activities of daily living, that I can't do, especially with modern medical science, where they can keep us alive forever, but not necessarily our brains.
Yeah, the good news is, hey, we're living longer.
Right.
The bad news is, hey, we're living longer. Right.
So there's a 70% chance you're going to need it, and the financial drain it's going to have on you and your children.
Tell me about it.
And the emotional drain.
Yeah, look, I'm the sandwich generation.
I get it.
Because I'm taking care of mom, I'm taking care of my kids.
Right. So with proper preparation, you can kind of set it and forget it. If you buy the proper coverage, you do the correct legal documents, not after you're 80 years old and oh, I got a problem, or your loved one passed. You have to plan early when you're healthy and young and when you can afford it and when it's good. And there's many ways of doing that, okay? There's standalone long-term care policies. There's combination policies with your life insurance. And it's not an expense. Everybody says, oh, it's expensive. Oh, it's expensive. What's expensive is spending over $400 a day if you have to go to some home somewhere. That's expensive.
That's expensive. And memory care units are even more expensive. Assisted living is expensive, but the memory care unit in the assisted living facility
forget about
is
it.
Even more expensive.
$500 a day.
And you're not really, and if you see them, they're not that great. Like you're not living in a palace for that kind of money.
Right.
It's really,
and if you think the government
24/7 care,
and if you think the government is going to take care of you, they're going to take care of you at the cheapest, most convenient way for them, not for you. So if my mother today was alive today and she didn't have the finances, or we didn't have an insurance policy, and I relied on the government to send her somewhere, they could be sending her 100 miles away from me. Okay, in a semi-private room or in a room with 2 other people. Is that the way you want to live out the rest of your days? But you needed somebody to take care of them. So it's a very, very big issue.
Those are, people have the options. They know about this. They put it aside. I'm sure you've experienced this. You speak with a client, you warn them about these and say, this is something you're probably going to need. And some people they won't do it. They just won't. Some people won't update their will. They won't update their estate plan. They just won't face these things. But I'm telling you this, what helps motivate people is I say, if you want to take control of your life, this is how you do it.
Right.
This is how you control it. And I think that once you could get to people through their head that way, it makes it easier. It's not a matter of you trying to convince them. It's a matter of them realizing that they have the need for it.
So it's funny because you talk a lot about retirement planning.
Yep.
And I talk a lot about post-retirement planning. And it's more called longevity planning.
Well, sure. Absolutely.
You mentioned it earlier. What if we live till we're 120? Who's going to take care of that? Fear of outliving your money is a huge thing. So there are financial tools that we use, and there's financial planning that Mitch uses and I use. Some of the financial tools is we can create an income stream for the rest of your life.
And what about the one where if you could put off collecting Social Security from the age of 62 to 70.
Earlier.
I mean, these are, you and I have so many conversations about this. It's hard to keep track of them all.
I know. It's insane.
We should just keep recording conversations and just replaying them. But Social Security planning is a huge thing that people, don't think about. It used to be that people wouldn't talk to you about Social Security until they're older, until they're about to collect it.
Right.
Now, my clients who are in their low 50s, we talk about it.
Right. And
even 40s, we talk about it because you have to talk about it sooner rather than later.
Right. If you delay taking your money, it'll grow by 8% a year.
From the ages of 67 to 70. I'm born in 1967, but if you're born 1960 or after, full retirement age is, at 67.
Well, I missed that deadline. I'm 59.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, sure. Okay. So what you need to do is, you're, it's 1959. I got you. You're saying you're 59.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, come on. You look young. Okay. You look good. So we have to plan for these things. So if you could, I've even advised clients to, in some cases, to use their other monies from their other accounts.
That's key.
To help supplement their lifestyle, to put off collecting Social Security because they get the higher benefit guaranteed. Well, there's no guarantee from the investments.
So one of the things you always talk about is portfolio diversification. That's being in all roads at the same time. And part of that is asset diversification, when to take taxable money, when to take tax deferred money, when to take tax-free money. It all starts with planning. And we're running out of time, but you've been listening to the Main Street Code for Financial Success. We hope that you enjoyed this session because I certainly did. And working with Mitch is terrific. And working with us, we're here to help you.
And you work with my partner, Bobby Bird, too, which is just a great relationship.
Absolutely. So you can reach me at 631-647-4694. I encourage you for any questions that you have, or if you want to sit down and talk. And Mitch, how can they get a hold of you? ClientFirstStrategy.com or moneyinthemorning.com. You have a great day.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of this station, JVC Broadcast.